Welcome to the Coaches Show on Storm Center. I'm Amber Bowman, along with Brandon Bias. Joining us today is men's soccer coach Morrisey. First off, congratulations on winning the KIAC tournament this past weekend.
Thank you.
Well, welcome, and we're just going to talk a little bit about leading up to this season. This is your 26th season.
Yes.
And so far you've won 13 conference tournaments, not including this past one, correct?
Correct.
All right, and then with your past, your conference coach of the year 7 times and national coach of the year twice.
Yes.
Congratulations on a great season this year too.
Thank you.
Going 3-1 in the KIAC.
Yes.
5-1-2 this season, and surpassed your 400th win this season.
Yes. Just a lot of great players and support along the way to get to 400.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
That's great. I just want to know where he has room for all these trophies.
Well, we're working on that. I think Jeff's trying to get the trophy case sorted out, so hopefully some in the booster room.
Well, I don't know if it'll be able to handle all those trophies, but you know, recently it was released. You had 5 players make the All-KIAC team. Can you just talk a little bit about those players?
Yeah, we had 5 players make the All-KIAC team, starting with John Dotson, our goalkeeper. John's had a phenomenal last 2 seasons for Rio, and this past season, I think in the conference, I think he conceded 3 goals. He was the defensive player of the year in the conference, and he did very, very well. Cesar Lopez, our senior captain, he was selected first team, and Cesar's played for us for 3 years. And Cesar's not really had much recognition, although he's probably been one of our best players over his 3-year career. He's done very, very well, and really, really happy for his recognition. Ramon Terzon, Ramon was our starting center back and also team co-captain, and he was selected first team. He's had an outstanding year. You know, he's done very well. He's a leader on the field and off the field, and certainly deserving of the recognition. And then the 2 attacking players, Pau Rodriguez and Luis Filho, both have had outstanding years, scoring, I think, 13 and 14 goals apiece. Certainly 2 of the top attacking players, not only in the conference but in the country. So well deserving for both of those 2 players as well.
Yeah. Now, I know you named those 5, but you could pick any number of players just on who you could get with of making tournament if you're allowed to have more people, I'm sure.
Yeah, the guidelines were you're only allowed to select 5 players. You know, I could talk about Callum Cobb. I could talk about Jorge Genevard. I could talk about, you know, any number of players. Patricio Arce, Willem Paulino. All of those guys are probably deserving. Yeah. If they played on another conference team, they would probably be in the all-conference team. But the way the guidelines were listed, you were only allowed 5, which is a little bit of a travesty, but you know, something maybe we can change in the future.
Well, I'd draft any of those people on my team to start with and play against your team because, I mean, every day in practice you got top to bottom. It doesn't matter who's in there. You've got a great squad.
I appreciate that.
So you've played 5 teams in the top 25 this season. How do you think that's prepared your team to get you postseason ready?
Well, I think for one, there were 5 current teams in the top 25. But if you look at the course of the entire season and you look at the listings of the top 25 from start to finish, we actually had 10 opponents of the 16 regular season games that at one point in time were in the top 25. And that was by design. We wanted to have a challenging non-conference schedule, and we succeeded in that, and I think it's more than prepared us for the national tournament.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. How have you been preparing for this first round in the tournament?
Well, the first round, even though the first round is this Saturday, we started preparing 2 weeks before the season ended. We started with taking the non-conference game on the road when we played Bryan, because Bryan's an outstanding program, and we utilized that game as a postseason tournament type of game. Got a good result there. We came back the following week and we played Reinhardt, who was a top 25. And that game in itself, even though it was the last regular season game, we used that as like a national tournament type of feel as well, because we knew if we got a positive result, that RPI rating was going to stay at #1. So we used that as preparation. And then as we went into the KIAC tournament, kind of the same thing, where we wanted to make sure the players were challenged, knowing that, you know, this is what it takes to advance and move on. So hopefully we prepared the guys correctly for this Saturday.
That's good. I got a question now. How, you know, bittersweet was it to come back in the conference tournament, win it whenever you probably lost the game you felt you should have won during the season, but in the conference tournament, you know, you got it back?
Yeah, it was, to be honest, we talked about it not so much as trying to get revenge as trying to, you know, a lot of times you don't really get a second chance. And, you know, we always talk to the players about making sure you leave everything out on the field. And we felt like when we played Point Park September 20th, a lot of guys walked off that field knowing they didn't give their best effort. And a lot of times you don't get that second opportunity to make amends, and we certainly got that, and I think the guys responded very well. Our first half against Point Park was outstanding. So it was good. It was good to get that result.
Okay, that's great. You have 3 seniors on your team this year. Can you just discuss a little bit what they mean to your team and what what they've brought to the table through the course of their career with you?
Well, the 3 seniors, you know, certainly very instrumental in the success of our program, and I'll start with Cesar Lopez. Cesar transferred to Rio, kind of a last-minute type of pickup for us, and from the time he arrived, he was, without question, the leader of the team. Not so much by his vocal actions or anything like that. It was just how he went about his day-to-day training, his character, his personality, and it's resonated in the entire team. So Cesar is a very instrumental part of our program. John Dotson, without question. John came to our summer camp as a junior to be a senior in high school. And, you know, he spent 2 years fighting to try and get a position. Once he got it, he's done very well to maintain it. He was an All-American last year and certainly in the running for it again this year. And certainly a guy who is overachieved, and certainly, you know, someone that if he chooses, he potentially can come back and play 1 more year. So we're working on that with John. And then the other senior, Logan Gumbert, you know, Logan's had an up and down career in his 2 years. Freak accident in training this year, broke his foot juggling a soccer ball. And he's battled his way back, and certainly is a guy that hopefully we can utilize at some point in time down the stretch here.
All right. How do you feel about the KIC growing and adding teams?
Well, for us, the fact that we're going to have 2 new members means we'll have automatic qualification. We won't have to utilize the school from Alabama, Talladega. Talladega is actually moving into the Southern States Conference. So with that being said, to get 2 more members means automatic qualification, and you don't have to worry about going into an independent region somewhere or going across the country to make qualification for the national tournament. So in that sense, it's very, very good for us.
Okay, and definitely adding West Virginia Tech and Ohio Christian, that more competition for you all in the soccer side of it?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly will. It'll still allow us that luxury of having a strong non-conference schedule, and the non-conference schedule portion of our schedule for 2015 is going to be very, very strong. So we're looking forward to the challenges next year as well.
That's great. I know last year you finished in the Elite 8. You know, can you just give us touch base on the ending of last season and the motivation towards what your goal was for this upcoming season?
Right. The 2013 season ended in the Elite 8. We lost to Ashford University 5-1. It's the first time that I can remember in probably 15 to 20 years that we were beaten by that big of a margin. And it was a bittersweet end to the season because, you know, we had a couple of things go wrong for us. We had a player red carded. We had a player that really thought more about of himself as opposed to the betterment of the team, and it cost us. And it's a constant reminder when we go out and play that you never know when it's going to be your last opportunity, so make the most of it and always put your teammates first. And that's kind of been our theme throughout the year. Again, it's a constant reminder. Our goal is to win a national championship, and we know that we just do it 1 game at a time. And you know, we think we're prepared, but that's what you go out and play the games for.
Yeah.
So you played Ashford last year and lost in the conference tournament, and then you turned around and played them in regular season play this year.
Right. We played Ashford, and ironically, in the Ashford game in the regular season this year, we also had a player red carded. The difference was, I felt like we were able to manage the game, even though we were a man down. Kind of felt like we deserved a result, but it gave us great motivation to know that playing a man down against competition at that level, that we're still able to, to stay in the game and actually be productive. So it was a good test for us, and hopefully we won't be playing any more games a man down. So that's the goal.
Hopefully not.
So.
Do you think the weather will play a role in the game? I think there's a high of 51 for the beginning of the game.
Not this weekend. The only thing that would play a factor is if it's a really windy day. Other than the high being 51, last Friday when we played Talladega, it was 28 degrees. And I mean, it was brutally cold. Saturday night in the final against Point Park, it was the same kind of conditions. So a high of 51 is going to be balmy for us.
How's the team feel about, having their destiny in their hands and getting to host the game? They get to play on their home field. How is that?
Playing at home is a huge deal because we feel like we've got one of the best playing surfaces in the country, and our guys really get excited to play at home. You don't have to travel. You stay in your own bed. There's so many factors into playing at home that make it a positive for us. But we know that we're playing a team that's also a conference champion. They've won 3 in a row. They're on a little bit of a roll. They're very well coached, and they're looking to advance just like we are. So it's not going to be an easy contest.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your coaching staff. I know Tony Daniels has been with you for 23 seasons now, and then you have another assistant that's been with you for 5. You want to talk a little bit about your coaching staff?
Yeah, the coaching staff for the 400 wins is every bit Tony's responsible for. There aren't many programs in the country that can have a dual coaching staff like we have that has that consistency year after year. And Tony's very instrumental in the success of our program. So we couldn't do any of this without his knowledge and expertise. Sean Bray has been a volunteer assistant for the last 5, and he certainly brings good consistency to our program. And then the 2 GAs do an outstanding job, Oliver Hewitt-Fisher and Scott Wells. And we've been fortunate over the last 5 or 6 years that the school's allowed us to have GAs, because the GAs have brought a completely different element to our program. And what we did years ago was identify GAs from outside to bring fresh perspective to the coaching staff, and that's exactly what those guys bring to the table, particularly Scott, someone who's not been associated with our program.
That's great.
Okay, so, all right, well, your all's next game, your first round national tournament is home this Saturday, November 22nd. It'll be 1 o'clock versus Baker's University. I know they're from Kansas. Kansas is used to tornadoes, but do you think they're ready for the Red Storm?
Well, I hope they're not ready for us, but I have a good feeling they're going to be. They're a team that's, they've qualified for many national tournaments. 2011, they were a Final Four participant. They're very well coached, and they're certainly hopeful to get to Florida just like we are. So it should be a great contest.
It's great. Would you like to give the listeners out there, something for this weekend?
No, just come out and support the University of Rio Grande men's soccer program, and we'd love to have your support. And 1 o'clock kickoff, and should be decent weather, so hopefully you can come out and support us.
Thanks for joining us today, Coach.
Thank
and
you.
Not too many coaches come up right off the practice field, run up the hill to come up here with us.
That's exactly right. Sorry I was late.
So we thank you. I'm Brandon Bias along with Amber Bowman until the next Storm Center. See you later.